Being a massive lover of Fallout New Vegas, or as it is known in the official circles, the best modern Fallout title, I was looking forward to The Outer Worlds in 2019 as it too was developed by Obsidian, only this time without Bethesda breathing down their neck and dicking them out of money they were owed. I was interested to see what the studio would be capable of producing when given adequate time and resources, instead of having to make do with an 18-month development cycle and broken assets. If The Outer Worlds is the kind of game we get when dev studios are allowed such things, then I say there should bloody well be the rule, because The Outer Worlds is flippin' fabulous and I'll be delighted to explain why.
This is big, folks! They didn't even need to outsource their excitement to me for this one. Shame. I hate it when they take mercy on you.
Oh, get out of here, you. The Outer Worlds is the spiritual successor to New Vegas that we don't deserve but we're blessed with anyway. When playing the game back in 2019 for the first time, there were a few solid moments where I almost believed that there was a god and that they were kind. You know, at least until I remember things like cancer, Fox News and Facebook exist, which is near conclusive proof that such a deity can't exist, or if they do they're very not nice. But I digress. Of all the large-scale RPGs I've played in the recent decade, none of them have even come close in my mind to the quality of The Outer Worlds. I genuinely hate this upcoming word with every fibre of my being, as it is one that gamers use so much that it has virtually lost all meaning, and it just makes you sound like a pretentious fuck when you say it. But I will say I personally consider The Outer Worlds to be a masterpiece. Yeah, I want to punch myself too, but for what it's worth, I do believe in my choice of descriptions here, even if it aligns me with the wankers who think that every Sony exclusive is a masterpiece by virtue of being a Sony product. The Outer Worlds is the kind of game where I'll think to myself, let's just boot it up for an hour and complete a couple of quests, and then spend all night going on fun space adventures. Hell, I've played this game for so long that my family thought I died at one point. It wasn't a big tears and snot affair though, it was mostly just sighs of annoyance knowing they'd have to tidy up my flat in my absence, and then they have to argue over who has to install that spring in my coffin to make my dead body jump up and scare people. Look, my funeral is going to be fucking hysterical, that's all I'm saying. But what is it that makes The Outer Worlds so bloody amazing that I can accidentally play it through the night, only stopping not because I'd had enough, but because I'd physically exhausted myself during the process? Well, after the beggy bit, we'll discuss. If you enjoy these videos, then don't forget to like, leave a comment and subscribe for future videos. If you want to, you can support the channel further by going to patreon.com/RonicaReviews and pledging £1 a month, which will help me to keep building the channel and bringing you content, and it will also get you some nifty benefits. You'll get 24 hours early access to new reviews, a shout out at the end of videos, and you'll get to suggest new games for me to cover. But what if you want something more tangible back for your support? Then you want to head over to ronicareviews.teemo.com to get yourself some merch. We have several t-shirts for you to browse, a couple of tote bags, and even a jigsaw puzzle. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like. You'll find links to everything here in the description below. Now, on with the video. The Outer Worlds is a first-person sci-fi action RPG set in a Halcyon System in the year 2355. We take on the role of Captain Insert Name here, who is a colonist aboard a starship called the Hope that was left adrift in the void of space. After spending 70 years in the icy expanse of nothingness, we're awoken by a scientist named Phineas Wells who plans to use us to save a ship full of colonists and the Halcyon System as a whole. Here we create our character and choose a background that helps determine our skills. I wouldn't say the physical appearance of your character is something to worry about too much, as you'll only really be seeing it when you open the menu to equip things or when you leave the camera in idle mode, although it is cool that it's there. Once we make ourselves, we're given a quick explanation by Phineas Wells of what he wants us to do, then we're shot down to the planet of Terra 2. We're told that we are to rendezvous with a space captain named Alex Hawthorne, and with his help we'll save the colony from impending doom. Or at least we would if the moron hadn't just stood there, beacon in hand, as the pod raced towards him, letting himself get creamed. Although we do get to steal his spaceship with him being dead, so it's not a total loss. As there is quite a lot to talk about in this game, I won't be going over every single bit of story because this video would probably wind up being several hours long, and I could use that time to just play the Outer Worlds, so you can see the bind I'm in. Early on we learn quite a lot about the way this colony works, what kind of people are running the show, and how it all affects the lives of those within. The colony is currently experiencing a nasty case of late-stage space capitalism, which, as is to be expected, is fucking things up for everyone, but most folks only know this way of life, so just sort of go with the flow. Provided they fill out flow form 17B and put down free deposits, and let's hope they don't drown because I know some of them are behind on their grave fees and they haven't earned permission to die yet, and doing so would be considered irreversible damage to company property.
That's fucked up.
That's Halcyon.
Yeah, we joke, but that isn't far off the truth. In Halcyon, money talks, and it does so quite loudly. Corporations run everything, and most people in the system have already sold their lives to one of the big dogs, and it's actually quite disturbing and wouldn't be out of place in an episode of Black Mirror. One of the earliest encounters in-game is with a wounded soldier who serves a nearby town owned by the company Spacer's Choice, and even though he is barely clinging on to life, he still has to blurt out the company's slogan before he can say anything else.
You've tried the best now. Now try the rest. Spacer's Choice.
Oh, wow, that stings.
Imagine if you just got shivved and you were bleeding out and you still had to go ba 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 ba, I'm loving it. It'd be fucking weird. Even if you help him, we learned that we shouldn't because these poor fucks aren't even allowed to receive medical help from anyone outside their company, so I bet he got fucking fired for having his life saved by a freelancer. Again, disturbing. Seeing people sell their whole lives away to a company that doesn't care about them and charges them for everything from medical care to dying is quite dark and depressing, and you can bet your bumblebee's bollocks I fought to free the system from the board. The board basically being the coalition of companies that are running the system into the ground. As you explore the system, you'll discover plenty of folks who agree that the colony is fundamentally fucked. Groups like the Iconoclasts and Adelaide's deserters who are sick to death of the idea that their entire existences serve only to line the pockets of the corporations. I couldn't wait to assist the groups of individuals who wanted to exist outside the direct control of the board, but then you do still have to keep your wits about you, as some of them are only pretending to not be corporate fanboys and you'll still need to gun them down, which brings us to the fighting part. The combat is fast-paced and fluid. You can have up to 4 weapons equipped at any time, and you can make use of the TDD to get the better of your foes.
TDD, or Tactical Time Dilation, allows the player to slow the flow of time and line up their next attacks.
Isn't that just VATS from Fallout?
No, you see, VATS existed because Fallout's combat was janky as all fuck and acted to take the edge off. My system is a simple extra tool for the player to use that they can easily go without. Unless they suck.
May I finish?
Sorry.
Whilst using Tactical Time Dilation, a player not only slows time for a short duration, but they can see what level a target is, their health and armor, and what status effects they will suffer when attacked in specific areas, which provides a significant advantage to a player.
Yeah, but it totally doesn't make sense that a side effect of being frozen is the ability to slow down time.
I mean, no, and hear me out here. It's a fucking video game, you unpleasable cunt.
The best part about Tactical Time Dilation is the fact that it doesn't feel like it was just slapped on to cover up a combat system that was held together with snot and paper clips. It's a useful tool that a player can feel free to completely discard if they like. I found it to be most useful when I was sniping or for scouting enemy encampments, seeing what was there so I could decide on how best to handle the situation. Though I found myself using it a lot less when I swapped to the assault rifle, because by that point I had high gun skill and decent trigger discipline, so I was able to stay on target and not burn through ammo so much. If you have any companions in battle, they'll provide fire support, or you can use them for their unique abilities, which typically staggers or stuns an enemy, though one companion's ability is to just unload an entire magazine worth of ammo on the nearest thing, which doesn't really have an effect, it just seems to do a lot of damage, which, you know, fair enough. As you level up, so do your companions, and every so often you get to choose a new trait for them. One trait that I got for all of them when it became available was one that drastically improved their damage after they used their unique ability, which is bloody handy. You can also adjust how they behave in battle. I would personally vote though that you keep them in an aggressive stance. See, a lot of the time they're smart enough to not attack unless you start the fight, but in any other stance aside from aggressive, they won't even really defend themselves properly. If I'm being honest though, it's not really a problem. There is only one issue I really have with the combat system as a whole, and even then it's not major. All the guns in the game use one of 3 ammo types, light, heavy, or energy. I think the idea behind it is to encourage a player not to just lug around the heaviest weapons they can lest they burn for ammo too quickly, which I don't mind per se, but I don't love it either. I think it's a little bit too restrictive, but not in a way that really hurts the game, so who really cares? It's just not my preference, you know, but again, it's a very minor complaint at most. One thing I quite liked was the healing. You have an inhaler you carry with you that can be quickly used for health recovery, and as you raise your medical skill you can choose extra drugs and aid items to be included when you use it. I like how quick and easy it is to use, but honestly once you get in the groove and you've probably kitted yourself out with some good weapons and armour, and you've gotten quite good at using your companions and the delightful dodge ability and the Tactical Time Dilation system, you'll probably find that you don't need to use it so much. You recover health while you're not in combat, so all you really need to do is survive an encounter and you'll be okay, and I do feel quite good about myself when I survived a combat encounter without needing to use the thing. The same goes for avoiding the use of Tactical Time Dilation actually. It was all quite rewarding, and I personally believe that this is true of the game as a whole. Completing quests and getting nice juicy payouts of bits and experience was rewarding because XP for level ups obviously, but bits, the in-game currency, are not just useful for buying things. Bits are good for bribing corporate officials in dialogue, which can save time and effort if you don't feel like fighting everyone, but you can also use them to tinker with your weapons and raise their damage output.
Yeah, because sticking money to a gun totally makes sense.
Jesus Christ, this guy.
Also, why does the game feel the need to shove its fucking wokeness down our throats all the time?
What, because it has an asexual character as an optional companion? Oh yeah, it's clearly shoved down our throats and not just brought up because it actually impacts this character's romantic life in a way that such a thing can in reality. How dare a game do this?
It's so heterophobic though. And furthermore...
God, these things get under my fucking skin. Fangirl, do us a solid. If any more of them worm their way inside, deal with them.
Can do! I'm the Angel of Death.
Thank you. Anyhow, since he brought it up, one of the Outer Worlds' best features in my mind are the companions. If you're familiar with RPGs, then you'll already know what I mean. They're a group of tag-alongs that you acquire, sometimes under some fairly contrived circumstances. In the Halcyon System, there are a total of 6 folks who can join you as crew members aboard the Unreliable, and we're going to be covering them from my personal least favourite to my most favourite. Starting with Sam, a maintenance robot that serves as a ship's cleaner and he can use flamethrowers and acid spitters in combat. He is by far the least interesting, because he doesn't seem to have a real personality, but then again, he's just a cleaning droid and I'm already bored of talking about him. Next, Ellie, a doctor pirate lady who is one of those comes from a rich family but is a bad bitch types, who is kind of a gruff hard ass but is charmingly so, but again, like Sam, I don't really have much to say about her. Nicola next, and we're getting to the more interesting people now. She's a machine gun wielding hunter from the monster infested moon of Monarch with funky hair and a drinking problem. Oh, Outer Worlds, now you're speaking my language. On the surface, she's a guns blazing badass, but there's a lot more to her than that. We get to join her in a quest to avenge her former team and then lay them to rest. She's cool, I like her. Then we go to Felix, a cocky youngster away from the spaceship Groundbreaker. I liked him immediately because he told me he beat up his boss for being an arsehole, and I'm quite fond of his mannerisms and his rather youthful demeanour. He really does have the energy of a kid who's seeing it all for the first time, you know? Next up, Vicar Max, a polite and intellectual man of the cloth with anger issues and a drive to seek the answers of the universe. I liked him because he had a good character arc. He is an intelligent man who later becomes a wise man. Now last and certainly not least, my personal favourite, Parvati. This fucking angel right here. She's sweet, shy, nerdy, a good voice of reason, and just so utterly charming that I always wanted her around. Her entire character quest is helping her find a date, which is something that, being an asexual person, she has struggled with because people tend to find her disinterest in the physical to be a turn-off, and you can understand why she's struggled to find someone as a result. It's quite noteworthy in my mind that the 2 best companions, at least in my opinion, Parvati and Max, are found in the first town and easily recruited to your party. It's like the game knows they're the best. The others aren't bad, mind you, not by any means. They're all good, well-written characters with respectable voice acting and well-defined personalities. I just know who I'd rather go on a road trip with, you know?
Golly gee willikers, it sure does sound like I'm checking a lot of your boxes. Don't think I didn't see the sad face you made when you knew that once this review was done, you'd never get to do it again.
Why do you hurt me like this? I honestly have a fucking blast playing this game. Sometimes in dialogue-heavy games I get bored, but in the Outer Worlds I found that 99.99% of conversations were just constantly engaging. From the quirky characters to the interesting floor system. Get this, every so often you'll do something wrong repeatedly and the game will take notice and then decide that it's a flaw of your character. In my case I got blown up by mines too many times and fell off too many cliffs. Yeah, those are some pretty big character flaws. If you accept these flaws, then you get an extra skill point to spend on a trait. In my case, my character didn't perform so well when she was up high and also didn't perform well around mines. I basically had a permanent concussion. But either way, you don't have to take them if you don't want to. I usually did because I like the element of roleplay it adds. I'm playing as a space captain who has a crippling fear of heights and a permanent concussion from being blown up one too many times. There is so much about this game that I love. I love the art style and the way the game presents itself, for example. I love the whole retro-futurist aesthetic. I've been addicted to that ever since I discovered Fallout 3. I find the setting to be quite interesting in a fucked up grim future kind of way, and the combat to be entertaining. If I'm being completely honest with you, viewer, I don't really have many, or well, really any complaints for the game. I could say I don't like that there's a weapon durability system, but it really didn't impact me that much. Like, I had to repair a weapon a few times, but like, it was never that big a deal. I've never had the game crash on me. I don't think I've ever seen any bugs, or at least if I have, I didn't register them. I've already said my piece about the whole ammo system. Like, it's not a bad system, just not my preference, and even then, it's just a matter of it not being my preference. I think it was last week that I said that there's only been 2 games that I've paid 70 quid for and thought that they were actually worth the price of entry, and yeah, The Outer Worlds is definitely worth the full price. It feels so weird to say that, but it's just true. I genuinely adore everything about this game. I just love it to pieces. I like how the game uses a faction reputation system that isn't all good and all bad. You've got 2 meters that fill up as you do nice and naughty things for a faction, and obviously they react differently to you if you're nice or naughty with them. I love how the game explores its themes, and I love how the characters develop. The Outer Worlds is just a fantastic sci-fi action RPG. It's an absolute testament to what Obsidian could do when Bethesda isn't dicking them around. If you're looking for a big sci-fi RPG to tide you over, then yeah, The Outer Worlds is definitely one worth going for. I love it so much, it's not even funny. Of course, it might just be a result of the fact that this game has a suit of armor that has these colors. For some reason, these colors, they speak to me.
Sorry.
You cunt!
You absolute fucking cunt.
Did it stop recording?
I didn't fucking record any of it, I don't think.
No, you see, that's existed because Fallout's combat was janky as all fucking agded. What the fuck is agded?